Good evening, everyone. I'm Tamara Hensby, President of First West's Envision Financial Division. It's my pleasure to welcome our members and guests to our 2025 Annual General Meeting. We're broadcasting this year's AGM from First West's head office in Langley. I'd like to open the meeting by acknowledging that the land we're meeting on today is the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Stalo, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen First Nations, who have been here since time immemorial, living on and caring for these lands. Over the past number of years, First West has moved forward in its journey towards reconciliation, proudly working with and learning from our employee network group, the Indigenous Peoples Circle. To date, activities and initiatives include providing access to a territorial acknowledgement guide for all employees, offering scholarships, bursaries, and internships to Indigenous students, creating specific roles to identify, support, and welcome Indigenous talent to our organization, offering access to the 4 seasons of reconciliation training to all employees in partnership with the First Nations University of Canada, recognizing and supporting days of observance and ceremony throughout First West, including the upcoming Moose Hide campaign, which I'm wearing a pin for today. We're promoting Indigenous economic development through initiatives such as the Indigenous Peoples Circle-led holiday season gift buying guide, which showcases Indigenous-owned businesses and services, and finally, hosting heart-centered training sessions led by the Indigenous Peoples Circle to all employees during this year. We recognize the role we play in fostering an inclusive and equitable economy. We know that reconciliation is an ongoing journey, one that requires humility, accountability, and a commitment to listening, learning, and adapting. We are dedicated to building and strengthening relationships with Indigenous peoples, organizations, and businesses. Now, I'd like to welcome First West Credit Union's Board Chair, Sean Newman, to the podium. Sean.
Thank you, Tamara, and good evening to everyone. We're glad to have you join us online for First West 2025 Annual General Meeting. Welcome. And as we get started, I want to make a quick note that we are recording this evening's proceedings. So over the next hour, you'll learn more about the credit union's performance in 2024, its financial strength, and our focus on the future. So without further comment, I declare First West 2025 Annual General Meeting officially open. So the notice of the 2025 Annual General Meeting was sent on April 4th, 2025 to all members of record as of November 30th, 2024, in compliance with First West Credit Union's rules and the Credit Union Incorporation Act. And this evening we have 81 voting members attending, along with 14 guests. Therefore, meeting the minimum requirement of 25 members present, we have a quorum. So given that, I declare this meeting to be regularly called and properly constituted for the transaction of business. During the proceedings, I will be raising 4 motions for you, our members, to vote on. Board members and management in the room here will raise their hand. So all other members who are eligible to vote have been given access to the online voting platform and will use the on-screen voting buttons there. And members have 30 seconds to cast their vote. And if you're viewing the AGM from a single monitor, to ensure you can see the voting screen when it's displayed, I'd encourage you to view it in windowed mode, not in full screen mode. Eligible members have also been given access to the online Q&A platform to ask questions at any point during the AGM proceedings. So you click the Ask a Question button located at the top center of your screen. And once you've finished typing your question, you can then click Submit. And we will try to get to as many questions as possible during the meeting, but if we run out of time, we will make it our commitment to respond to you within the next 2 weeks. So, to ensure everyone is comfortable using the voting technology, we'll do a practice run now. And as a reminder, if you're using only one monitor, you have to exit the full screen mode to view the voting screen. So I'll give you a moment to do that. So our practice question is, hold your breath. Is a hot dog a sandwich? And I know my opinion, it's not a sandwich, but we're going to vote on this. So if you're for, if you feel the hot dog is a sandwich, you can vote for or against if you don't think it is. So when the voting screen appears, make your selection and then select submit to confirm, and you'll have 30 seconds to seriously consider and cast your vote on the question. So I didn't ask for a show of hands in the room here. Is it a sandwich? No, we got a few that say it's a sandwich. Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for your votes. I'm now going to confirm with our moderator, James Grange, to make sure our voting technology is working. James, what are the results of our test question? Do our members feel the hot dog is a sandwich?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A majority of First West members do not believe a hot dog is a sandwich.
Okay, so sanity has prevailed. Thank you. Great. Now that we're familiar with how to vote, I want to note that we have in attendance 10 directors. Joining us here this evening from the First West Board are Deborah Buzzard, Paul Chaloner, Jeff Dick, Richard Hill, Wahid Hirji, Daryl Kropp, David Letkeman, Balraj Mann, Kathy McIntyre, and Carly Scott. Thank you, directors. We also have in person several members of the First West senior leadership team and other First West team members. So to assist with the orderly conduct of business, I've appointed Robin Babcock, recording secretary, and Barinder Sidhu as parliamentarian. So now allow me to draw your attention to the rules of conduct, and these were included in a link to the meeting materials in the AGM access email. Our accepted rules of conduct permit only voting members to ask questions at the meeting, and following the formal presentations, we will have time to entertain questions from yourself as members. So please note that we have no ordinary resolutions to be voted on at this meeting other than the usual ones relating to the approval of the auditor's report and the appointment of the auditor. So no other resolutions were submitted under the rules of the credit union. And finally, this AGM is for general membership business and not for dealing with any personal issues you might have. Personal matters may be addressed with your local president and their leadership team. So I have a motion from Richard Hill, seconded by Balraj Mann, to approve the rules of conduct. So again, we're going to vote this time. Please vote when you see the motion on your screen. Vote for or against according to the options you see on the screen. All right, and that is wrapping up now. So I declare that vote to approve the rules of conduct has passed. We're going to go on to draw your attention to the meeting agenda, which is on page 2 of the meeting package. And for this, I have a motion from Kathy McIntyre, seconded by Jeff Dick, to approve the agenda. So again, please vote when you see the motion on your screen, and once again, vote according to the options you see. In favor? Great, and I declare the vote to approve the agenda has also passed. Thank you for that. And then last year, First West AGM was held on May 14th, and the minutes of that meeting are included as pages 4 to 7 in the meeting package. And if there's a need for any corrections to those minutes, you can enter a note now or throughout the proceedings by clicking the Ask a Question button on your screen, and we'll address it during the question period. So I declare the minutes approved as circulated. So there was no business arising out of the minutes of last year's AGM and no unfinished business, so we will now proceed to our reports. And next, Director Daryl Kropp, Chair of our Nominations Task Force, will give us a report on the 2025 Board of Directors election. Daryl.
Thank you, Sean. As chair of this year's nominations task force and on behalf of my fellow task force members, Jeff Dick, Kathy McIntyre, and our members at large, Tamara Kennelly and Lawrence C., it's my pleasure to share an overview of the task force's work this year and the election process. A special thank you to Tamara and Lawrence for your time, expertise, and insightful contributions. Our job as a task force is to seek and endorse candidates who have the right mix of specialized experience and expertise necessary to steward the credit union on behalf of its more than 270,000 members. This year, the terms of 4 directors expire at the conclusion of the 2025 AGM. All 4 positions are for 3-year terms, and all contested seats were designated at large, meaning the candidates may reside anywhere in British Columbia. On December 2nd, 2024, we issued a call for nominations, inviting qualified candidates to apply who had expertise and experience in the following areas: financial and accounting, real estate lending and development, and risk management. Importantly, we also informed the members that diversity, equity, and inclusion are essential elements in attracting high-caliber directors, maintaining a high-functioning board, and building a competitive advantage. Moreover, we shared the board was particularly seeking expressions of interest from women, Indigenous peoples, and other equity-deserving groups. When nominations closed on January 17, 2025, 15 candidates submitted complete nominations papers. 1 incumbent director confirmed they would not be seeking re-election, and 3 incumbent directors confirmed that they would seek re-election. After a thorough interview and deliberation process, the nominations task force endorsed 4 candidates. Following endorsement, all candidates were then asked to consider their endorsement status and declare whether they would remain in the election. Although not required to, the candidates who were not endorsed voluntarily withdrew their candidacy. This left 4 candidates for the 4 available seats. As a result, the following candidates were declared elected as at-large directors by acclamation for a 3-year term: Paul Challinor, an incumbent director based in Tsawwassen; Merrill Corbett, an incumbent director based in Kelowna; Wahid Hirji, an incumbent director based in West Vancouver; and Renee Merrifield, a newly elected director based in Kelowna. Congratulations to all re-elected directors and a special welcome to Renee Merrifield. I trust this has been a helpful overview of this year's election process, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have during the question period. Thank you. Back to you, Sean.
Thank you, Daryl, and congratulations once again to our incumbent directors and to our new director, Renee. I look forward to working with all of you. So I want to take a moment to honor Richard Hill, a long-serving director who's retiring from the board following this meeting. Richard, your steady and dedicated leadership has been critical to our success. Throughout your time on the First West Board and the Island Savings Board before that, you've led with incredible vision, kindness, and with a focus on always putting members first. In 2016, you enthusiastically stepped in as vice chair of the First West Foundation, and in 2019, you ascended to chair, supporting our communities with the same kindness and passion. I know your contributions across both the board and the foundation will leave a lasting legacy that will continue to inspire us all. Richard, thank you for 19 years of exceptional service. This year, the board asked members to vote on a special resolution which proposed amendments to the credit union's bylaws. These bylaws were approved by members in 2021 and will go into effect when First West becomes federally regulated. This special resolution was put forward to eligible members to approve the creation of a new class of shares, which will be known as Class D equity shares. The board and management of First West are always looking for ways to help First West grow, meet the financial needs of our members, and improve our products and services. So with the creation of the Class D shares, First West is acting prudently and putting in place a share structure that will give First West additional options to raise capital to continue to support the needs of our members and our communities. The proposed changes to the bylaws will also allow us to create and issue other financial instruments and receive the desired capital treatment under federal requirements. So I am pleased to report that 86% of the members holding Class A membership shares who voted approved the special resolution, which is more than the required 2/3 majority. Therefore, the special resolution is considered passed and the amendment to the bylaw are approved and confirmed. So thank you to all members who voted. Because of your participation, I am happy to announce that once again, we've donated a total of $7,500 to our signature causes in support of food banks in Feed the Valley in the Valley First region, the Full Cupboard in the Envision Financial and Island Savings region, and since 2014, and with gratitude to members who participate by voting, more than $60,000 has been contributed to local food banks through our AGM votes. So I want to acknowledge this donation comes at a time when there is surging need for community food banks. Here in BC, food banks are seeing more than 100,000 monthly visitors, and this is a record high, an increase of 81% since 2019. Adding to the strain, costs have gone up and donations have dropped by as much as 30% in some areas. Not long ago, $1 provided 3 meals for those in need, and now it's closer to 2. And these factors are creating a bit of a perfect storm. And I see this significant need as a clear indication that we continue to live in challenging times. And although there is some good news with an ease in inflation and falling interest rates, housing affordability and rising grocery prices continue to cause our members financial concern. First West remains a people-focused, proudly Canadian cooperative, and we're well aware of the worries that weigh on our members. We live and work in our local communities, so we have a deep understanding of these concerns, including the impact of U.S. tariffs. As you see on this slide, Abbotsford Mission, Chilliwack, Kelowna, Kamloops, Victoria, and Nanaimo are among the top 40 largest Canadian cities expected to be most heavily impacted, according to the data released by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce earlier this year. We're committed to supporting these communities and all the communities we serve because we know that even if a city or town isn't on the largest 40 list, it doesn't mean there are no impacts. Kitimat, for example, while very resilient, is a community that could certainly be affected, and we're here to support. Turning to how your board keeps a pulse on emerging issues and opportunities in financial services, technology, and the economy and business, we continuously invest in our development. And this year that included deepening our understanding of artificial intelligence, open banking, and digital banking, and the opportunities ahead in these areas for the credit union. First West is thoughtfully adopting AI while keeping member privacy and security top of mind. For example, the finance team has been using AI for several years to more efficiently match transactions during the account reconciliation process. And this technology offers suggestions for transactions that don't perfectly align, and it quickly generates reports to identify variances, and it saves team members time to focus on other value-added activities. So we have a long-standing strategic partnership with Microsoft, and we're grateful for their support as we adopt AI capabilities and tools. Last year, we were also one of 4 credit unions to form a strategic partnership with Canadian-based Caspian One. They're a technology leader with a proven global track record in open banking. And the board is grateful that First West is leading the way among this group of cooperatives by advancing open data initiatives for the benefit of our members. Equally exciting, in recent months, First West spearheaded the formation of another coalition of like-minded credit unions to develop a next-generation digital banking platform, including best-in-class mobile apps and public websites. Veripark, which is a global leader in omni-channel customer service solutions, is supporting us with this work. We've long known that digital transformation, like what I've shared in these examples, is key to our efforts to innovate and attract new members. But I want to point out now that First West is helmed by a Chief Executive Officer who has been skillfully guiding this organization for 15 years. Lonnie's leadership has always been more than just a vision. It has been about courage, consistency, and impact. She has guided the credit union through significant transformation, building Canada's first multi-brand credit union model, strengthening our much-loved community brands, Envision Financial, Valley First, Island Savings, and Enderby and District Financial, while also navigating the credit union through a rigorous journey to become federally regulated. For those of us who care deeply about the future of cooperative banking in Canada, Lonnie's work alongside the First West team has helped shape a path forward where innovation and values can walk hand in hand. This path is neither straightforward nor easy. And as we reflect on opportunities and challenges, it's impossible to ignore a challenge that continues to grow in complexity and urgency: the regulatory burden that is facing the financial services sector in Canada, especially for credit unions like ours. Today, there are more than 50 regulatory bodies overseeing financial services across Canada, and that is a staggering number. And even more striking is that most of those oversight bodies are for credit unions alone. And notably, if we exclude Desjardins, the total assets of the entire credit union system is less than the size of National Bank. Yet there are more than 50 regulatory bodies. While Canada's regulatory system was designed with good intentions to protect members and customers, ensuring stability and to build trust, credit unions now face a patchwork of provincial and federal rules. These often duplicate, conflict, or simply don't reflect the realities of how financial institutions, and for that matter, how members, consumers, and businesses operate today. So this is not about deregulation, but instead it's really about smarter regulation. When costly red tape is cut for credit unions, there is an immediate and lasting benefit for families, small businesses, and community organizations that bank with a credit union. So you will hear more from First West and its advocacy for a more harmonized, modernized approach, one that acknowledges the strength and sophistication of the credit union system and gives us flexibility to serve and innovate for our members, many of whom also have sophisticated needs. And we're not alone. Across the country, voices are growing louder in calling for regulatory reform, also sparked by the desire to unlock interprovincial trade barriers. These obstacles hinder many industries, including cooperative banking. I also want to speak plainly about a structural gap in Canada's financial services system, one that has real consequences for institutions like ours. We often hear that the federal government is committed to fostering competition in financial services, but the reality paints a different picture. When you look at the landscape, you see two extremes. On one end, the big banks, each with more than $1 trillion in assets, and on the other end, a long list of small, locally focused financial institutions. But what's missing, the graph is obvious, is the middle tier. Those institutions trying to grow larger, innovate faster, and to compete more broadly, yet held back by outdated, duplicative, and fragmented regulatory frameworks. So take a look at the numbers. Between Royal Bank's $2.2 trillion in assets and a credit union like ours with $14 billion in assets, there's almost no one in the middle. In fact, among the top 20 financial institutions in the country, only a few are credit unions, and even fewer can scale nationally under the current system. So this isn't just a credit union issue, it's a Canadian competitiveness issue. The structure of our regulatory system makes it incredibly hard for mid-sized institutions to scale, let alone compete with federally regulated banks. And yet, that's exactly where competition should be growing, in the middle. And we're not asking for shortcuts, we're asking for a level playing field, one where modern, well-run, community-focused institutions can grow responsibly without being buried under layers and layers of red tape. And if we're serious about innovation, competition, and financial inclusion in this country, then we need to bridge that gap. And that means streamlining regulation, enabling interprovincial operations, and supporting the emergence of a true middle tier in the Canadian financial services sector. As your board of directors, we are committed to being a part of the solution, advocating for smaller regulation and sustainable growth so we can continue to serve you and steward First West with strength, stability, and a bold vision. So now we'll continue as we hear from our CEO, Lonnie Skinner, and after her, she'll be followed by our CFO, Mark Moreland. Lonnie.
Great, thank you, Sean, and good evening, everyone. Uncertainty is a popular word at the moment. It's appearing in news, headlines, political discussions, and economic reports, largely in response to the unjustified trade war instigated by the Trump administration. More importantly, it's reflecting the feeling in the hearts of Canadians from coast to coast to coast. I want to acknowledge this uneasy feeling, but let's remember that while living through uncertain times is uncomfortable, it's also not unfamiliar. As a member-owned financial cooperative that has served British Columbians for 80 years, we have considerable experience navigating challenging periods. Our confidence leading through ambiguity is grounded in our purpose that together we create a future where everyone can flourish. This purpose, which we evolved in 2024, reaffirming what matters most, is the North Star that guides our decisions, drives our relevance, and determines our impact. When we act from our purpose, we're elevating our members' financial confidence, strengthening communities, and bolstering our own resilience. This idea reverberates throughout our 2024 to 2028 strategic plan, where we've defined several ambitious goals. Among them is that by 2028, we want our members' financial health to outperform the rest of Canada when it comes to financial planning, practices, and confidence. Furthering that idea, we want our communities to be more resilient and experience the greatest economic growth in Canada. Our highest ambitions speak nothing of revenue targets, capital, or risk ratios. Rather, they speak to our human-centered culture. Our people-first philosophy has earned us several honors in recent years. First West was named one of Canada's most admired corporate cultures in 2023, then validated again in 2024 as a Platinum winner. This award by Waterstone Human Capital honors leading Canadian organizations that excel in fostering healthy, high-performing cultures, particularly in challenging economic periods. Also, for 2 years running, we've been named one of BC's top employers by MediaCorp Canada, identifying our workplace as one of the best in the province. Staying true to our purpose goes hand in hand with our financial strength and stability when navigating tumultuous times. Our CFO, Mark Moreland, will share more on our financial performance, but I'll assure you now, at a time when other organizations are challenged by our economic environment, First West is financially stronger than ever before, and we continue to grow, so our members can take every confidence that they bank with a financial, resilient organization. Our financial strength was fortified by our federal readiness journey. For this, we rose up and met all pre-continuance requirements set out by the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions. Our technology systems, policies, and procedures are ready as we wait for approval, which is expected to be extended into 2026. While we're extremely disappointed by this delay to our timeline, which is a result of last-minute requests from OSFI that reflect their concern for global events, we remain fully committed to becoming a federal credit union. We're poised to take the final step in our transformation when the time comes. Because let's remember, the federal continuance isn't the ultimate goal. Instead, it's a means to enhance our capabilities and flexibility for our credit union. When we consider the recent upheaval to our global trading system, small and large organizations alike have had to react quickly to sweeping changes. Our federal readiness journey has empowered us to respond thoughtfully and deliberately in situations like these. When we look back 5 or 10 years from now, becoming federally regulated will be a very good thing. With our federal preparations behind us, 100% of our attention is dedicated to supporting you through this uncertain economic times and increasing your options to improve and simplify your banking experience. In 2024, we fast-tracked your access to an advisor through new online live chat functionality. We also empowered you to book an in-person phone or video appointment online without having to engage our member advice center. Commercial members gained choice in their banking experience when we launched self-service wire transactions through online banking. This capability has increased their operational efficiency and strengthened their protection against wire transfer fraud. We've also focused on elevating the delivery of personalized financial advice. Our customer relationship management platform has been critical in these efforts, given its ability to empower our teams with insights on members' life stages, financial situation, and their goals to help ensure we're delivering timely and well-informed advice. Members' financial health had a leg up when we introduced Conquest. This is a best-in-class financial planning program that combines artificial intelligence with expert advisor insight. To date, we've developed approximately 2,100 comprehensive financial plans for members through this program. We also elevated our digital capabilities through 2024 by expanding the types of accounts you could open through online banking and empowering you to open our suite of accounts anytime, anywhere through our mobile apps. To help you monitor your account activity, you can now opt in for available credit alerts, which automatically notify you when your line of credit falls below a certain threshold. This functionality nicely complements the account balance alerts we activated in 2023. An important part of elevating your experience and providing you the best service possible is ensuring our team members use advanced technology. So we prioritize the implementation of state-of-the-art teller cash recycler machines in our branches, which has increased the efficiency of cash transactions. It's also why we invested in upgrading devices and installing Windows 11 throughout our branch network and collaboration centers. These improvements have boosted the capacity of our teams to focus more on engaging members in advisory conversations. Using the latest Microsoft operating system is one of the many measures we use to guard against cybersecurity threats. We recognize the growing concern in this area and that members themselves are the first line of defense against attacks. So we created a series of engaging educational cyber and fraud awareness videos for our social channels, an email program, and displayed fraud awareness content in branches and on our digital screens. This year, we've been leaning into our purpose as we support the unusually high number of members with renewing mortgages. Our advisors are having advice-based conversations with members about their full financial picture to coach on how to best manage expenses now and continue to save for the future despite higher rates. To augment these conversations, we've created new tools and resources, deepened insights through reporting dashboards and digests, and reinforced the capabilities of our teams through advisor upskilling sessions. We've also proactively engaged members on their needs through this trade war to really understand the impact so we can appropriately respond. In addition to conversations with our retail members, more than 360 business members responded to a recent First West survey, and I'm heartened to know that 8 out of 10 members who responded are generally feeling very confident and resilient in the face of tariffs. And although these businesses are less vulnerable than on average, 52% have already or expect to experience impacts to their revenues as a result of tariffs. The majority of respondents noted they are receiving the support and advice they need from First West, but as a cooperative, I know collectively we have the ability to do more. That's why I encourage everyone attending this afternoon to continue to show your support for Canada and our local communities by buying Canadian as much as possible. We'll share greater information from the business member survey in the coming weeks, and we'll host a webinar to discuss results and share insights on how we can continue to unite as a community and as a country. From a technology perspective, we're tremendously excited about the work underway to develop a new, distinctly Canadian digital banking platform for First West. This will include mobile apps and new public websites. We're leading this work as part of a coalition of other like-minded financial institutions in partnership with Veripark, a global leader in digital solutions for financial services organizations. As a member, you can expect a digital banking platform that will be considered the best in Canada, with a faster delivery of new capabilities. Stay tuned for the unveiling, which we expect to be about this time next year. Something I'm most proud of is that in challenging times like we're in today, we continue to stand with our communities. While other organizations, including some of our peers, have had to pull back on community support, we have not. Being a committed partner to community organizations is integral to our purpose. Recognizing that food insecurity is at a critical high, in 2024, we raised more than $400,000 for local food banks through our signature causes Feed the Valley and the Full Cupboard. Today, our 14-year total is at more than $5.6 million, a number we hope you take pride in as we do. And just this morning, we announced a $100,000 donation for our trusted partner, Food Banks BC. The significant contribution will support their ongoing efforts to provide essential services to those in need and elevate their work as a leading advocate for long-term solutions to prevent hunger. We also doubled down on our support for the BC Cancer Foundation by extending our partnership this year, pledging a total investment of $400,000 over 4 years. What's more, continuing the momentum we started in 2023, our teams rallied in support of the Foundation's Work Out to Conquer Cancer by logging more than 11,000 hours of movement and raising the same amount in funds. Acknowledging the ongoing housing affordability challenges, we help foster lasting stability and sustainable development in our communities through strategic investments in 3 key housing funds, one of which is the Propolis Cooperative Housing Community Bond. When we stepped up as a key investor for this Kamloops-based nonprofit housing cooperative, we helped Propolis advance a 53-unit affordable net zero housing project. By supporting social programs like this, we're part of the solution to alleviate housing pressure and encouraging financial well-being in our communities. You'll be able to learn more about our community investment outcomes and how we're living our purpose in other areas of our business in our inaugural Impact Report, available in the next few months at firstwestcu.ca. We come by our dedication to local community organizations honestly, because we are one. As a Made in BC success story, our roots began in the same communities we're still in and still a part of today, when our earliest founders envisioned financial services based on cooperation and inclusion. We are very proudly Canadian and proud of our West Coast roots through and through. So thank you for continuing to trust in us as your financial institution. We remain a dedicated partner here to support your financial well-being. And now I'm going to pass it over to Mark. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Lonnie, and good afternoon, everyone. A few moments ago, you heard Lonnie and Sean briefly touch on the instability of the current geopolitical climate. I'll comment on that shortly, but I wanted to start my report by talking about stability. That is, the stability of your credit union. This is the key headline of First West financial performance last year, and it also speaks to the intensity of the present moment. Our fundamentals, which is our core business of loans and deposits, continues to be strong. You likely know that over the past few years, every financial institution has faced significant challenges due to the volatile interest rate environment. For cooperative financial institutions like First West, the net effect of that volatility has been a reduction of net interest income and ultimately earnings, the funds that enable us to grow and continually adapt and evolve to meet the needs of our members and future members. I said at the last 2 AGMs that our finance team saw this volatility coming, so we got to work, building a more conservative approach to this challenge, and we began implementing our strategy well before the full impact had landed. Our approach aimed to ensure a more stable earnings into the future for the long-term success of the credit union while mitigating some of the immediate pain. And the approach has been effective, shoring up our fundamentals while earnings began to recover. First West loan portfolio grew by $591 million, or 5.0% in 2024. We shed excess liquidity in the form of deposits, posting a planned decrease of 1.5% compared to 2023. That action was primarily aimed at reducing non-core institutional deposits, which are typically more transitory than our core deposits. First West total assets and assets under administration finished 2024 just shy of $20 billion at $19.6 billion. Our strong capital position added strength as well as we rode out the late stages of rate instability. We finished 2024 with $1.2 billion in capital, which we've grown to this level and maintained over several years. This capital serves as a buffer against economic fluctuations and ensures our long-term stability. Our capital ratio stands at 15.1%, comfortably above the 8.0% required by the provincial regulator, and even exceeds the federal requirement of 10.5% plus an additional 2.5% capital conservation buffer. Operating expenses were again managed carefully and thoughtfully, leading to a very modest increase. Our approach remains focused on long-term success through moderate, consistent growth and ensuring balance and ideal compositions across the loan and deposit books. First West is returning to strong profitability as expected and remains incredibly strong fundamentally, despite what's going on politically or in the markets. That core stability is what we worked on to preserve and fortify as earnings recover. For 2024, the majority of earnings recovery was dependent on interest rates and our interest margin. Our team of financial analysts spent hours and hours poring over our lending and deposit portfolios, evaluating the Bank of Canada's interest rate policies and much more, to accurately predict when First West earnings would begin to recover and how fast that recovery would be. And their analysis was bang on accurate. While we did post negative earnings overall to finish the year, we saw significant improvement in net interest income and profitability in each quarter last year, and ultimately a return to profitability for the last 4 months, and continually since then. This was primarily driven by repricing the loan portfolio at higher interest rates and the reduction of expensive deposit holdings, having the combined effect of easing the margin compression that we saw over the past few years. This is precisely what we anticipated. This trend generated a quarterly net profit of $4.3 million in the fourth quarter of 2024. We expect this trend to continue as the loan portfolio continues to reprice and we continue to grow assets throughout the year and into 2026. While our focus on this meeting is last year's performance, I feel it's appropriate to briefly comment on this first quarter results. Several of First West's key measures, like lending, deposits, and earnings, beat target in the period of January through March. This is one of the best first quarters we've seen in a few years' time, and it's significant because these results have been fueled by trending earnings recovery and the strength of the core deposit performance carrying over from Q4 of last year. I share this because I want our members to be confident in the management and performance of their credit union. Our team's analysis and forecasts were accurate. Our financial strategies are well-informed and thoughtful. And in 2025, First West performance will build on the positive momentum generated in 2024. Allow me to offer just one more compelling point that reflects the credit union's performance, strength, and future direction. First West recently closed a $150 million senior deposit note offering in the capital markets. This type of funding helps First West to accelerate growth of the business, which allows us to continually do more for our members and our communities. The order for this offering was 4 times oversubscribed, which means that investors wanted to buy more deposit note value from us than the $150 million that we were offering. For you as a member, here's the takeaway. This investor enthusiasm means there's significant market confidence in First West as a stable, future-focused, sustainable operation. Now, I know you may have concerns about the impact of tariffs and the trade dispute with the United States. I do too. We're all wondering how this will affect the Canadian economy and what impacts we'll feel personally. While it is true to say that we've seen the erratic approach of the Trump administration impacts the markets in the immediate term, I think it's too early yet to get a sense of the broader impacts of the trade dispute. Some experts predict an impact of modest growth in Canada's gross domestic product this year, while others are suggesting a slowdown and no growth at all. My point here is that there is no consensus on the impact of the trade war among very knowledgeable people, and that's because, again, it's just too early. Right now, we have no adequate amount of data following the onset of US tariffs in April. That will come eventually. What I do know is that First West has the fundamental strength and stability to weather adversity. We are closely monitoring the evolving trade landscape and are prepared to navigate these challenges. Our strong capital position and prudent financial management practices provide a solid foundation to weather potential economic disruptions. So while we wait for that data, our mindset in navigating this uncertainty is the same as in times past. That mindset is members first. Our priority is to help build members' confidence in their finances, even during times of uncertainty. We are here for our members, listening to and understanding their concerns, and doing whatever we can to support them, while ensuring the long-term stability and strength of the credit union for the benefit of every member. I'll close my report by echoing that First West Credit Union remains fundamentally strong and resilient, and the forward momentum in our results in 2024 affirms this. Proactive strategies and solid financial management have positioned us well to navigate the future, whatever we find there. Of course, the position of strength we find ourselves in would not be possible without the care, attention, and expertise of our team members and the loyalty of our members. Thank you all for your continued dedication and trust. Sean, back to you.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Lonnie. Next on the agenda is the report of our external auditors. And representing our external auditors KPMG. We have Jonathan Wong and Lucy Reimson joining us online. A condensed version of the auditor's report was in the notice of AGM that was emailed and mailed to eligible members at the beginning of April. And a full version of the financial statements is available on the First West website. Just look for the 2024 annual report link from the homepage. So I'd like to present a motion to receive the auditor's report on the 2024 financial statements and a motion to appoint the auditors for 2025. The auditor's report can be found in the notice of annual general meeting and in the annual report. This report specifies that First West financial statements give a true and fair view in accordance with the financial framework used in their preparation and presentation. So if you have any questions related to the auditor's report, we'll be happy to answer them during the question period. And this year, since our members are attending online, you can enter a note now by clicking the Ask a Question button on your screen, and we'll address that question during the question period. So I hereby move to receive the auditor's report on the 2024 financial statements for First West Credit Union, and that motion is seconded by Deborah Buzzard. So please, again, vote when you see the motion on your screen. Or those in the room with a hand in favor. Thank you for voting. And now on to the appointment of auditors. I hereby move that in compliance with the Credit Union Incorporation Act and regulations, KPMG Chartered Professional Accountants be appointed auditors of the credit union for the 2025 fiscal year, and that the board of directors be authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors. And that motion is seconded by Carly Scott. So again, please vote when you see the motion on your screen. Your options are for or against, and those in the room can raise a hand if they're in favor. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Give you a few more seconds to vote on that. Great. For your information, we have the results of the votes conducted earlier, and both motions passed with members in favor of acceptance of the auditor's report and the appointment of the auditors. All right, so this is the time to open up the virtual floor to you, and this is your opportunity to ask questions or make any general comments you wish. So if you haven't already, you can submit a question by clicking the Ask a Question button on the top of your screen. And as I mentioned earlier, please restrict your questions to matters of business concerning First West. And if you have any personal questions, our moderator will redirect you to your local president or a member of their leadership team. So we did receive a few questions in advance from members as part of the registration process for tonight. So we're going to start by addressing one of these from a member in our Envision region. So James, could you share that question with us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first question is First West Credit Union planning on any more mergers with other credit unions in the near future?
Great. Thank you for sharing that question. We are always open to discussing mergers with other credit unions, and there certainly is interest in our model through the conversations we're having. It's important to note, however, that mergers are not simply transactions, and they aren't simple. So for First West, we want to bring like-minded organizations together that are also culturally aligned and in a way that ensures benefits to our members. So while mergers are one way to achieve growth, we are also focused on growing organically in our communities we serve and by increasing our wealth business as another example. So James, I think we had one other question sent in advance.
Yes, the member also asked, there are 4 credit union brands under First West. Are there plans to give them all one brand name in the future, or will the name stay as is?
Again, thank you for sending in the question. And First West has successfully operated a multi-brand model for 15 years, and we have no plans to change our model. So presently, we are exploring ways to make it even more clear to our members that our local brands Envision Financial, Valley First, Island Savings, and Enderby and District Financial are closely connected to each other as part of the same credit union. Our multi-brand model enables us to offer members the best of both worlds, the size and strength of a larger financial institution, combined with the personal care and attention of a small local credit union. So James, I'll ask then if there are other questions that have come in and been submitted this evening.
There are, thank you, Mr. Chair. The first question submitted from our Valley First region is, why were account fees added to a no-fee checking account?
Great. This is a question around account fees added to the no-fee checking account. So I don't know, Lottie, if you want to speak to this, I can also as well, but let you start.
Yeah, we are constantly looking at ways that we are creating products and solutions that are forward-thinking and represent the credit union as we move forward and looking at current cost structures. And so we did change a few of our accounts, and we created the True Essentials. It still is considered a no-fee account for those people that use less than 12 transactions in a month. And if you do more than that, it's $9, which is still one of the most competitive products in the marketplace. And we think it's representative of the cost structures and the future orientation of where we're taking our total product selection. And stay tuned for some more to come.
Thank you. Appreciate the interest in products as they change, and we always want to be ready to give you the reason and context behind that. So appreciate you asking that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next question is from our Envision region, and it's the member states that it looks more and more like First West is converting into a traditional FI with focus on wealth management investments. What assurance can you provide that your values will not be eroded in the future?
It's a great question. I think there's a couple of things maybe to comment. First of all financial institutions, including credit unions, have to continue to adapt and evolve as our member needs change. And so as we engage with our members in our communities, whether that be families, individuals, or our businesses, we know that there's growing needs to help them in a whole range of ways, from the traditional banking services that we did to more inclusive ones that include helping with wealth management and investments. And it's a way for us to be responsive to the needs of our members. We also know that the businesses that we work with, even local businesses, are often engaged with customers globally and have very sophisticated needs. And so we need to keep evolving and adding products and services. But I think the question behind the question is this idea of, is that shifting our values or our focus? And absolutely not. As we outlined as we went through some of our comments, our model is really to see the scale of a large credit union as we grow and increase and be able to pass that benefit on to members. But we've designed ourselves and our structure with our local brands, our local leadership teams and organization to be responsive and connected to our members and to our communities. So ultimately, first and foremost, we need to make sure that balance works and that it's meeting the needs of our members. And we feel that in the market, the First West model is the best way to pursue that. And we're excited about what we've been able to do, and excited also what we may be able to offer in the future as we continue to sort of live out those values, both as we grow the organization, but as we connect more closely to our members and our communities.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next question comes from the Valley First region, and the member wants to know what we are doing to attract and encourage newcomers to grow their investments in our community. The member notes that our objective balance, value in inclusion and cultural support to other cultures programs should be more prominent, and also asks what we can we do more in public engagement and awareness with all cultural groups in our communities?
I mean, the quick answer is probably yes, we can always do more. This is an important element for First West and for our teams, is to say, how do we make sure that financial services is inclusive, and that the way we deliver financial services values all people in our community, and demonstrates that both by how we deliver them, the products that we deliver, but also how we advocate and participate with individuals and organizations in our communities. So through our foundation, we do a lot of work to connect with various organizations that are supporting those who are at risk or have needs in our communities, but also just in terms of creating products and services that support a diverse set of members is something that we want to continue to explore and develop. So the answer is yes, we can continue to do more. I appreciate your concern for it. and something that we're always interested in having conversation on. If you have ideas or opportunities that you see locally in your community, bring them forward, and we'd love to hear more and chat about them further. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a few members in our Envision region asking questions about federal continuance, and essentially members want to know, what is the progress on becoming a federally regulated credit union?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the vote that we had to become federally regulated is something that is now over a year in our past, 2 years in our past. And so I can see why members would be asking about the progress. And as we have proceeded towards federal regulation, as Lonnie sort of mentioned in her remarks, that we have been preparing the organization to become federally regulated. And those are the things that we can control on the side of First West. But then there's regulators and government decisions around when that happens. And so those timelines are things that we partner with government on and ensure that they move forward and happen as soon as possible. We do anticipate, as Lonnie was saying, that we want to continue to be moving forward in the near future, but we don't have an exact date at this point, because that is something that our partnership with the regulator and the government will ultimately determine what that date is as we move forward. But we're feeling well prepared and ready for our move to be federally regulated.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next question comes from our Island Savings region, and the member notes that among the proposals by Canada's Competition Bureau are calls to enhance small and medium bank access to brokered deposits and various anti-monopoly measures. The member also notes that at the same time, the U.S. is pushing for greater access to Canada's banking market, especially now under President Trump. The member wants to know, how will First West protect members during these uncertain times in the financial sector?
Yeah, I'll maybe comment, but maybe Lonnie, you want to as well. I think it's a great question, and Lonnie brought up some of it in her remarks around the uncertainty. I think the key thing is to outline that First West is a partner with you as our members, that we work hand in hand through all sorts of ups and downs, whether that be in your own specific financial journey, but also as we look at the collective journey and we look at how we have through times of things like COVID and other elements that have hit us as communities in the past, and that will be the same as we look to the future. And we're doing many things to prepare for that. I know our member teams are reaching out to connect with our businesses that may be impacted and communities that might be impacted, and really just asking the question, how can we support you? Because we want to make sure we're listening and hearing where that support is most needed. So Lonnie, maybe you want to add a few thoughts as well.
Yeah, and Sean, you talked quite a bit about the fact that we have 50 different regulators across the country, and so we are in active conversations with different people in our local MLAs, MPs at the federal level. We're starting to engage in those conversations. We participate in things like we're part of CCOA, which is our credit union advocacy, a trade association, where we participate in conversations with even the Canadian Bankers Association. So we're heavily engaged in having those conversations at a more federal and provincial level, including things like the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. We have representation from our organization. So we're really being very proactive in trying to lead and lean into what those conversations in. And the only thing I would just add, Sean, is one of the things that's helped us by going through the federal journey to this date is we're in a solid position, both from a capital and capability perspective, which then gives us the time to be able to make sure we do that. You are with a resilient, sound financial institution, while we continue to do some of this work to really do some lobbying and really support what the future of the Canadian landscape from financial institutions can look like, both from the banks and cooperatives and trust organizations. So we're heavily engaged in all of that.
That's great. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we have time for one more question. The question comes from our Envision region. The member wants to know, how does First West keep employees engaged during all of the current uncertainty, and what employee morale is like?
Great. I'll maybe turn that back to Lonnie as well. It was a greater pulse on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. As we talked about, the human connectedness is at the center of who we are. One of the things that really helps is having our purpose. So having that true North Star that we talked about, where we ensure that we create an environment where our members can flourish. And that includes our team members as well as our community members and our members. We focus on trying to ensure that everyone understands what the big picture is. Our team members, particularly those that serve members directly, know that they get to come to work every single day and make the best possible decision for the member. And that really makes a big difference when we put the member at the heart of the decision making for our team members. They know that they've got a huge support network around them to help them make some creative decisions, to figure out how they can think differently, how they can consolidate, bring in some different experts from the total financial planning of what the membership needs. And that actually in of itself creates a nice place to work. We're really focused on DEI and having a psychologically safe workplace. We have employee resource groups that give us feedback on how we can make the environment stronger and better. We're constantly going out and doing pulse surveys and understanding how our team members are feeling about us. So we really do believe in leadership and really helping give our team members some of the coaching and skill sets to do that. So I think I would just, yeah. So it's not one thing, it's actually 100 things, but it's at the end of the day, having our purpose and making sure that we enable our team members to live out the purpose to the best of their ability and to know that they can bring their true selves to work every single day and deliver on that.
Great. And maybe just one additional comment. I think many of us who do a lot of our transaction work digitally these days aren't in the branches a lot, and maybe not interacting with staff in the way that we may have in the past and the team members that are part of the credit union. But I would say as a board of directors, we're incredibly appreciative to the hard work that goes on day in, day out by our team members, particularly as we looked at the times that have the different specific circumstances that have impacted our members, whether that be COVID in the past or the interest rate challenges as interest rates have adjusted up. To hear story after story of staff and team members engaging with our members, trying to find creative ways to solve for their future and make sure they're set up well is great. And it's inspiring for us to hear those stories. And so if you have an opportunity, go into a branch, say hello and connect with the team members there and do your own little pulse check as you can. So appreciate your care and concern for the team members at First West. So I think that was it for questions then. Yep.
That we have time for, but we'll make sure to respond.
So there were
to all
other
members.
questions submitted, but we'll move on at this point. So thank you for those questions and comments. Really appreciate that, and we will be following up for those that we weren't able to get to your question this evening. So that brings us to the end of the First West Credit Union 2025 AGM. So thank you all for attending, and we'll be sending all voting members in attendance a short email survey early next week. And we would really ask that you take a few minutes to fill it out when it arrives in your inbox. We value your feedback as we continue to look for ways we can improve your AGM experience. So there being no further business, I hereby declare First West Credit Union's AGM adjourned.